G'day, Andrew Parsons here. I am doing a check-in. I haven't done one of these for a while. And today I'm doing it as a bit of a test for a few different things. We're using OBS to help with sort of video editing and things. And so I have decided to post up a workout video that I recorded yesterday and have that running while I'm talking about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and all the other bits and pieces that I've been doing on my check-ins. What am I doing? Well, for a workout, let's go and have a look at that first. I haven't been feeling great about my weight in the last few weeks, probably since I got back from Australia. I think I sort of lost the real committed nature I had in eating well, and I think I have to get back into that, and I've been struggling to do that for a number of reasons, and there's no excuses other than me just not doing it. And Ed and I, are trying to, as much as possible, get things happening, but it's been a struggle. So one thing that does make me feel better after I do it is working out, and so I've been trying to get way more consistent with working out, as well as increasing my volume as well. Like nutrition is king, but definitely burning macros helps as well, rather than just sort of lying around on a couch or sitting at a desk. So what am I doing? I'm doing a combo of different things. 2 days from Squatober, which is a month-long challenge from Sorinex, who do this every year in October. For the month of October, they basically do a set of challenges every day, workouts every day, focused on squatting, primarily on back squatting, but they do a few other things as well. And then, we went away last week for a few days, and so I'm catching up. So I'm a few days behind. So yesterday I decided to do a mashup of days 13 and 14, and then sort of brought them together. I didn't end up doing all of both days, but I did a significant portion of both, including the core work, which is the back squat stuff. And then on top of that, I also did the Sasquatch, which is our gym main workout as well. Again, I didn't do all of the stuff they had programmed, but it was as I said, a combo of all three to sort of work together. And so I'll go through those in a bit. But it was good. It was a long workout. It was 90 minutes plus, actually, when you count the warm up. You can see there, and the clock says 22 minutes. I started around 20 on the actual back squats, and then and the rest was the mobility, warm up, cardio bits and pieces, just to get my body going and in the right sort of shape to get started on back squats. You'll see I've also got this is my whiteboard down in the garage that I've done, where I was tracking everything through, including making sure I was having my rest and the right timings. And I just put up, I'll talk about the Fitbit tracker stuff in a bit. So what was I doing? Let me see. Sorry, here we go. So Squatober 13 was a bunch of different back squats. That's what I'm doing right now, what you can see on the screen. And you'll see, I think it was starting about 60% of your 1 rep max. So the heaviest back squat I've done is about 350 pounds. And so I was doing about 60%, I think, starting with that. And then from there, going up in weight until I got to the end, where it was about 265 pounds, and it started feeling heavy, exceptionally heavy. I'd done some other workouts earlier this week, and so my muscles and joints were actually feeling a little tight and sore. So doing extra weight was a nice challenge for me, nice sort of workout. Normally I video my Sasquatch a Squatoba workouts from behind. I like to see my back set and everything, and see what I can work on in terms of getting a better tautness in my back. Yesterday I decided to do a profile, make sure I'm doing some sort of vertical up and down with my squatting, as well as some other the workouts, bits and pieces you'll see later on. And this is where, like, I was already feeling a little down about my weight, but when I was looking at this video, I was like, oh man, I definitely have put on weight, and I know I have, but profile shots not flattering to me, and I know, it's easy to say don't get down on weight, but that's where I'm at, and so I need to figure out how to either lose the weight or stop getting down on myself. And so I think it's probably a combo of those two things. Recognize that I can lose the weight. I have earlier this year, and I can do that by tracking macros and getting my nutrition more dialed in. Why am I not doing that? That's what I've got to figure out. And maybe it's just a combination of that and all the other things that have been happening in my life, which I'll talk about. But the back squats, you do each of these sets, and you have a 2.5 to 3 minute rest. I sort of wrote on the whiteboard 3 minutes, just to make sure that if I did feel something was heavy and I wasn't ready, I could say, yeah, I was going to do 3 minutes, but I was aiming for a 2.5 minute gap. I was just testing something there with that 10-pound plate, just waiting for that next round of squatting to happen. What happens then after after the back squat core work, they do a number of other accessory or cardio type, what they call cardio. It's not cardio how you would expect it, or I would expect it, I think. But they do all these other extra bits and pieces. One of the things they always do as a combo with squats is bench press. They don't do it every day, but they do it enough that I know that they're sort of working you towards the end of the month. When you do your test of back squat, you're also going to do a test of bench press. This is our garage gym. Obviously, we've been quarantined and sort of home with gyms closed for a long time, as most people have around the world. And I've just recently rearranged the gym. Here I go with my back squats. I think it's at 245. I think with those extra 25s on. I was feeling really good about the depth here. I didn't feel as good about my depth later on, which we'll get to in the Squatoba 14 set. But they were feeling pretty good. So I rearranged the gym a bit. It's a way more open now. Unfortunately, I didn't video and include that here, but it allowed us to get better access to the rack. The rack we got while we were quarantined. It was one of the things Sorinex did to get people up to speed and be able to do lifting like this in their home gym if they didn't already have a rack. I don't know if it saved us a lot of money getting that rack, but it certainly was, because it's so compact. It certainly fits into a garage gym really well. And Troy, head coach at Sasquatch, helped me sort of assemble that and put it into the wall, which is great. It's solid. It's not going to move. But I found it really difficult to do squats at first, because psychologically you are incredibly close to that wall. And I've tried both facing outwards and inwards, and I've gone back to facing inwards, which is my preferred style, because when I'm done with the back squat, I can lean forward and push it back into the rack. But you're like, my nose is like an inch away from 2 inches away from the wall. I can't get a full under later on if I can't remember if I do. I don't do front squats here, but when I do front squats, the elbows get really close, and I can't do any sort of kipping motion on pull-ups. So I'm basically stuck with doing strict pull-ups, which is not bad. Obviously, it's going to build strength, but I've lost some of that technique and momentum type stuff that I need to rebuild when I can get back to a bigger gym more regularly. And the other thing I haven't done for a very long time is bench press. And so I know last year at Squatober, we did bench presses as the 1-2 punch of back squat and bench press, and I was able to increase my bench press, but I don't think I could get anywhere near close to what I got last October at the moment. So it's good to start getting that back in and doing those. And even though the rack is incredibly close to the wall, it turns out that it's actually in a pretty good spot to bench. It's awkward when someone's spotting you, and so we haven't done a proper workout yet, proper like bench press workout yet with a heavier weight. I'm going to hit those later this week, where I'm going to need Ed to spot me, and it's going to be a tight sort of fit for her to sort of stand behind me there to help catch the bar if I struggle. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. You can see I'm still not really having much of a problem with the squat weight, which is great. So then what happens after the back squats is for day 13 was they were doing these supersets. And the first superset was 5 rounds of bench press, just as I was talking about that, and pull-ups. And last week they did a couple of days where they were doing chin-ups, and I discovered that I've been having some problems with my shoulder and my left shoulder mobility, and it hurts in a certain particular positions. And pull-ups are one of those areas where it tends to aggravate it. It's definitely feels weaker in that sort of pull-up position. And I discovered last week when I was doing the chin-ups that chin-ups were easier, and I think it's because it's pulling this way rather than sort of pulling this way, and this is where I have the problem. Like when I'm catching a barbell from a jerk or a press, or just even cleaning into that position, or doing a pull-up, anything that sort of puts my shoulder into that sort of position like that, that kind of rotation, gives me a bit of aggravation. But the chin-ups were working well. So yesterday was a good test to see how I could go with pull-ups and see what was going on with those, and whether I could actually even add additional weight to that pull-up. And you'll see that, obviously, little giveaway there, spoiler there, on the whiteboard you can see that I actually was able to do a little bit of weight, which is great. The other superset after that was for 4 rounds doing some barbell RDLs, Romanian deadlift. So basically holding a barbell in front of you and sort of leaning over with one leg sort of out while you're sort of lowering the weight down to the ground and back up. And then close grip push-ups with weight if possible. And so last week we did some close grip push-ups as well. They're a good sort of change of pace in terms of the rotation and angles of your arms and shoulders. I don't think it does anything better or worse in terms of that shoulder mobility I was talking about with this shoulder. But it was going to be a good challenge for me to try and see if I could do those with some weight. But the problem I have is obviously with a home gym, you don't always have the flexibility of doing everything easily. And so if you look at what I've got there, I've got a bench press and a pull-up, both requiring the rack. And then I have a barbell RDL, which requires my barbell, which I need for the bench press, and close grip push-ups, which are just a floor exercise. So what I decided to do was swap those around a little. I kept the rounds and the reps the same as prescribed, but I just did them slightly differently. So I did the bench press and RDLs in one set, and the pull-ups and the push-ups in another set. I was going to do the bench press and the push-ups, and then realized that both of those are a pushing motion with your hands, and so I wanted to try and replicate what they were doing, which was a push with the press, and a pull with the pull-up, and a push with the push-ups, and not a pull, but a static sort of hold with the RDLs. So I swapped those around. And then the second thing I did with the modification or change was I changed the barbell RDLs to be double dumbbell RDLs. That way I didn't have to worry about changing my barbell or setting it up with a different weight and everything. So, it's the little things you need to do when here I am setting up the barbell for my bench height. It's little things you need to do when you have a home gym and you don't have as much flexibility on either equipment or space. Right for this workout, I was lucky that Ed wasn't working out as well, so I was able to use the whole space. I didn't end up using everything, but I was able to use, like here I am setting up the bench. I was able to do stuff on the side for the RDLs, and so. But if I tried to be doing the bench and a barbell RDL, then I would have had to have a bar somewhere. Like it was a little more awkward. So I decided to switch them around in that way, and it worked well. So that's what I was doing there. So just tested that weight there, seeing if how I'm going. So that's a 135 pound with the blues on, and I'm adding the extra fives now to make it 145, which is what I was supposed to be doing. And so I'll start doing those as well as the other parts of the superset now for Squattober 13. So what is going on with my weight? I think, I was quite heavy. I was up to 240 something pounds, and then I was up and down, up and down, up and down. And I look at Fitbit and just think, because Fitbit's been tracking my weight for a few years now, and and it was trending down, but it wasn't fantastic. And I got down to about 220, 215, that sort of range. And I've been stuck on that for a long time. I signed up with Stronger You, who helped me. That was basically a year ago, more than a year ago now. And they really dialed in my nutrition and helped me track a lot of things. And that helped me get from that all the way down to sort of mid 180s, so 183, 185 kind of sort of space. And I felt good. I felt really good, and I hit that sort of range around January, and I kept it off at that sort of range, to 183 to 186, 187 range for months, including the beginning of COVID and the quarantine period and all that kind of stuff. I was able to keep it down that until I went to Australia, and then Australia was a struggle. I enjoyed my time there immensely, but it was a struggle because there were so many foods and things that I used to eat there that I love and I can't get here, and so I kind of spoilt myself and sort of broke myself there a little, and so then I came back thinking, oh, I'll just get back into the swing of it and just get back in, but psychologically it was hard. I was having some not easy times at work, in my job, and frankly I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing. I loved working for Microsoft, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But what I was doing for the last, since sort of the April time frame, was not something that I wake up every morning and go, yay, this is what I want to do. And so I think that, and the quarantine, and not traveling other than Australia, and not being able to do usual things and all that kind of stuff, it just broke routines, it broke focus, it broke everything. And so now I've been struggling to get back onto tracking macros and everything. So I've set it up in Fitbit so I can track my macros, and I just need to get started. But it's it's certainly a journey, and now I'm back up to the high 190s. So I put on about somewhere between 12 and 15 pounds in 3 months, and so that's not great. I'm pretty unhappy with that, and so I want to work on that. But I can look at it and go, it's eating, it's working out. Like, back when I was keeping it off, I was working out 5-6 times a week. I was working out twice a day. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff as well as making better choices. And now I'm not eating as great and not working out as much, and being a bit more or less mobile. So, I know why it is. It's just hard to psychologically kick myself back into gear to make it happen. So, and eating's the thing that's really got me. It's hard to stop, as I'm sure it is for other people too. So I know what I need to do. I don't need to have. I just need to start. So that's what I'm going to do. So yeah. So as I mentioned, doing workouts like this are a psychological thing as well as a physical thing. Certainly, it makes me feel better afterwards. I know that I've moved, I've burned calories, I've done some stuff for fitness and strength, and so I'm pretty happy with that. This month, with Squats Over On, I'm probably over-indexing on strength over cardio / gymnastics, but I'll get some of those other things in when I can. And strength workouts still work you, right? You can see here on the screen that I've got a lot of active minutes in that workout. You can see that I'm walking around in breaks and things, but certainly making some impact in a workout there. So what else is going on? I think while I'm waiting for this to move on to the next workout, I'll move to a few other things. So what else have I been doing? Well, firstly, I left Microsoft. I don't know how to start that, so I'll just put it out there. Finished up with Microsoft at the beginning of October. I was there for just over 12 years, and had an absolute ball. Like, other than not feeling great about the work I was doing over the last few months, it just wasn't hitting my passion, wasn't hitting what I get excited about. I can't complain about the people. I can't complain about the company. I just loved my time there, but it was time to find something else, and so the next thing is going to be in November. So I basically got a month off vacation. I had almost 4 weeks accrued at Microsoft anyway, so basically I'm just taking that time before I start my next thing. And the challenge is going to be great, but what I'm doing now is enjoying this time, this 4 weeks of time. So last week we went to New York and had a great time there. Basically, both of us know that we rest better when we travel. When we're at home, we like to do things like this and all the bits and pieces that we want to do. And so we don't rest very well at home. So going to New York for a few days, we left on Wednesday, came back Saturday, allowed us just to recharge a little. We basically didn't do much at all. Obviously, things like the shows and other bits and pieces are closed right now because of COVID. And so basically we slept a lot, we walked around, and we ate a few restaurants. But apart from that, that's all we did, and it was great. A good time for Ed and I to sort of spend time together. And New York, I love New York. I've said before that I wasn't ready to leave New York when I left New York, and uh, going back every time just brings that back. It brings back the memories of that city. Is just a fantastic city to be in at any time, and it's just really nice walking around the streets. We stayed right in Midtown, and we walked up to Central Park and went to a couple of areas in Central Park that I haven't been to before. We found a food truck that had been voted like best food truck in New York, which was saying something. And food was great. Did a few other things like that, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of as I said, unstress. It was a very good time to have. But I'm doing other things as well while I'm home. I'm uh, doing like playing games. I obviously always play games, but right now I've got some dedicated time to get into a few games a bit more than I have been. And it's interesting seeing what I'm playing. The I got addicted to this little indie game called Undermine, and played that for a long time. I think I was surprised. Ed was surprised at just how much I played that, because it is a bit of a mindless um, dungeon crawler, where your character dies over and over and over again, and every time you have to start again. And but I think the mindlessness was what I needed. I needed that sort of reset of not having to think about anything other than just where am I moving my little guy, or little girl. The characters change every time you go in the dungeon. But since then, Crash Bandicoot 4 came out, and I've played that a little bit. I haven't played a lot, but played a little bit. It's as fun and hard as it always was, and it just feels like original Crash, unlike some other recent games. And so that's been fantastic. Crash and Ratchet are my two favorite video game characters of all time, and so having a new game based on Crash Bandicoot and having it be as good and as polished as it is just fantastic. So I've played a bit of that, and a few other games that have come out recently. But what I decided to do was there's a couple of games that I keep putting off because I'm like, oh, that's going to take me a while to play. And so Gears of War 5, I finally pulled that out and started playing that again. I started from the beginning. I'm up to Act 2, so I'm not very far through, but it's great to be reminded of that world and that story as I'm getting closer to November for Nano Roma, which is a writing challenge that I do. And just getting inspiration from different sorts of creative worlds and environments and thoughts of how people are sort of depicting things. So Gears of War has been great. And then Assassin's Creed Syndicate is like, it's my favorite Assassin's Creed game. It's got the familiarity of London, even if we've only been to London once or twice. We've seen it enough in period dramas and all that kind of stuff. The people, like the non-playable characters that you interact with, are all, a lot of them are familiar or based on real historical people, and so it has that familiarity, and the play style just really gelled with us as well. So we really enjoyed playing that. And no other Assassin's Creed sort of really hit that, and including the more modern ones, Origins and Odyssey. But I started playing Origins again today to see how that would go, and it actually went surprisingly well. I thought when I've tried it twice before, and both times I've given up. And it turns out I've given up both times before I even got to the main game, because today when I played it and I got to the bit where the Assassin's Creed Origins logo appears on the screen, I'm like, oh, okay, all of that was the intro. Okay. So that was a bit of a revelation. that I hadn't got that far. So I'm hoping that now that I've got that far, I've got familiar with the controls. And I think that was one of the big things that was getting me was we were so close to Assassin's Creed Syndicate and the way it played that switching to Origins and its play style with the button configurations are pretty different. Things like the menus, like you use a thumbstick to move it like a mouse type of thing, and the menus is very different. Like the upgrades are like everything is quite different and jarring when you go from Syndicate to Origins, and so um, having a break from those games, from the other Assassin's Creed games, and then jumping into Origins today meant for me that I had that mental reset as well. And so I actually really enjoyed playing it today, and I'm looking forward to playing some more over the next couple of weeks that I've got vacation to really explore that world and see how it is. And then, we've got a few other games coming up, like Watch Dogs Legion, which we're both really excited about. I might be able to play a few days of that before I get into my next job. But yeah, so playing the video games has been great, and being able to have that time and saying, "Hey, I'm on vacation, and this is what I'm doing with my vacation," is something that I love being able to do. We can't travel, so I don't feel like I'm like wasting time from that perspective. I'm getting other things done that I've been wanting to do, like rearranging the garage gym, and even like here, I know you can't really see with the cameras and everything, but Ed and I were working in this one room as our combined office, but with COVID and us both working from home, and being on calls all the time, it meant that we were just running over the top of each other. And so sometimes she would work on the couch, sometimes I would work on the dining table as a standing desk, or I'd work in the guest room just on a small desk. And all of those things they were not permanent enough that we felt like we were in our space. And so we were able to rearrange the guest room next door, and put in Ed's desk in there, rearrange the bed and everything so she has much more space, and she now actually has two desks, one for a main desk and one that she's got at a standing height that she can have as well, and she's comfortable in there. And I've moved my miniature painting stuff from in there in here. That's what that white shelf is right there, is some of the miniature painting stuff, and then over there is the miniature painting table. And so that's been nice as well, having those two spaces, and particularly while I'm on vacation, because now I've been able to set this up and have access to the media server management that I need to do sometimes, or go over to the miniature painting and just quickly change between doing this and miniature painting and back and things like that. It's been nice. Now we're sort of finishing up that first superset of the bench press and the barbell RDLs, which were the dumbbell RDLs, which you didn't see. They were done off screen. So I'm now just deloading the plate. I found that this rack is really a squatting rack, but what they've done is they've notched grooves in the top of it that you can put something in, and we've put a spare barbell up there and made that a pull-up bar, but it's just too tall to feel comfortable for me, and so I use a couple of the plates just to give me that extra height, so I can grip the barbell without having to jump up to it. Particularly with my shoulder, I didn't want to put any extra strain on it that I didn't have to, and I wanted to be able to be comfortably able to go up and down off the bar. So that's what I was doing there. I just did that first set of pull-ups and didn't do any weight. I just wanted to see how pull-up felt with that. And then I'm doing, as I said, the combo of those and the close grip push-ups is what I did for the other part of that. So it looks like I didn't realize I was a little off screen there. Oh, maybe I fixed myself. Okay, I've kind of fixed myself there. Okay, and so that's the first set there that I'm doing. So anyway, so I was talking about miniature painting. It's something that I've been doing for a long time, and I know in a few other check-ins, I've talked about them. But this time I'm doing some more. I'm actually finishing up a couple of miniatures that are Ed's characters in a game called Starcadia Quest. So this one is almost done. I've got to paint this little thing. I'm going to make it glowing green like it's a energy thing. I've got to do some more stuff with the gun and fix a couple of things. There's a couple of points where the paint has chipped off because I took too long to paint these two. This is the other one that's Ed's character. This one I just have to finish the legs on. But they're a lot of fun. I'm actually really enjoying these characters because they are oversized, like chibi style, and so I've been enjoying painting those. So that's those two, and then Ed gave me a game for Christmas that I've been wanting to get to painting, and it's a bit more detailed. This is just one of the portal miniatures in it, not even the characters, but you can see it's way more. I wonder if I can do this to make it more complicated, more detailed. There we go. It's way more detailed, and so I've finally been able to start one of those while I've been on vacation. And then let me see, what am I up to with the workout? Looks like I just did my first set of pull-ups with some weight, which I thought was I was pretty happy with. It definitely felt tight, and by the end of all of the workout of this superset, I was definitely feeling it in my shoulder and arm. Here I am going with the good old plate on my back to do some push-ups. This is just a 10-pound plate. So remember, this is what I'm doing these pull-ups as part with a weight, and push-ups with weight, and so I had to sort of shimmy it on. You'll see some of the others. Here I am fixing it before it falls off, and later sets I was having similar problems and just getting it set. So that's those. Then what I was going to show you was the other miniatures I'm painting. There's another game called Marvel United. Can't quite see it. It's basically there. But it's basically Marvel characters, and again, it's kind of like it's not quite oversized, but it's more pronounced and simple. And so, for example, like here's a character card for the Hulk, and basically you can see really fairly simple colors because it's basically just using the cartoons, and so I'm able to basically replicate that just pretty much straightforward, doing some basic shading, basic highlighting, getting a little bit of detail work, practicing with like eyes and teeth and things like that, doing some fun stuff with basing. One of the other things I liked about these particular miniatures is that the bases are molded as well, so that's nice to be able to paint those and try those out. Some of the other characters are like Captain America, we've got Iron Man, Black Widow, and so these all start out as just plain miniatures that I first paint black, and then I've just started with Black Widow's face. Same with Captain America. You can see I've just done his face, and then I'll just paint over the top of that with the helmet things. And then like Iron Man, I'm having problems with. I bought this metallic red paint to try and replicate that, but it's too sheer, so I'm going to have to do a red just a solid red base first, and then paint the red metallic over the top to get that feel of Iron Man's suit. The game has baddies as well. Like it has the bad guys, Red Skull. So Red Skull, I've just painted his skull so far. So I'm doing those. So it's a bit of fun. I wouldn't say mindless. It's just something that's different. Allows me to just sort of have a bit of creativity with a bit of structure at the same time, which I think is really cool. Here I am doing a set of push-ups with a 25-pound plate on top. Try to get it to the spot so it won't fall off when I'm doing them. And then there we go. So yeah, so I was happy with these. I think I wouldn't mind keeping my core a little tighter as I'm doing them, so that I'm not bowed a little as I'm coming up. But that'll come in time as I'm working on those. So that's those. Where am I at? I'm up to push-ups. Get that weight off. All right. Now what I did was, when I was doing these, and then the pull-ups, I did do some weight on the pull-ups so I did 5 sets of pull-ups. The first and last set I didn't do any weight, and then the other 3 sets I did 10-pound dumbbell between my legs. Is the easiest way I find to do weight. To give you an idea of the difference, when I got to the end of the 5th round, when I got to the start of the 5th round, I decided that I wasn't going to do extra weight. I was just going to do the pull-ups. Whereas last week, when I was doing chin-ups, I was able to do a set of chin-ups with a 35-pound dumbbell as well. So, maybe it's a bit of not feeling quite as fit yesterday as last week, or maybe it's that the chin-ups versus pull-ups, the mobility on the shoulder, or maybe it's a combo. I don't know what it is, but I certainly was not able to do as much weight in a pull-up situation as I did with the chin-up situation last week. So that's the miniature painting. And what else have I got? Let me see. So I'm slowly reading a book, Kings of the Wild. It's an interesting book because it's fantasy, which I love, but it's done as if the adventurers, the mercenaries, the famous mercenaries in the world, are like a rock band. So they have fans, and they have bands of mercenaries, but the author Nicholas Ames has done it in a way that it sounds like rock band, like an actual set of artists together. Everyone has their own little role to play, and sort of archetype of band member. And some are more famous than others, and I'm only a little way into it, but I've really enjoyed the sort of spin on mashing up like metal rock bands and fantasy and sort of putting them together. I thought that was really clever. Now, why am I doing that? Why am I talking about different books and things? Well, one of the other things I'm doing right now is getting ready for NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. National Novel Writing Month is every November, and I have done it for, I want to say, 7 years. And every year I've successfully managed to write a minimum of 50,000 words, which is the challenge, for a new story or a rewrite. One of the, I think the second book I wrote was this book about this werewolf pack of friends who go on an adventure called Wolf On. Wrote it, and then I wrote another book the following year, and then the following year after that I rewrote Wolf On from scratch, word from, starting with 0 words, and using my first version as a basis. And then that second version was the version I ended up publishing, which is on Amazon, self-published. I didn't get a publisher. I'd like to, but I just did it all, so I could say, hey, I published a book, a fiction book. And so last year I tried writing the sequel to Wolf On. I'd been planning it for a little while. I know what I want it to be. I know what the premise is, but I struggled. And so I started I mapped it all out. I knew what chapters I had. I knew what the sort of timeline was throughout the book. But as I started writing it during the challenge, I really struggled with getting the words flowing. So I think it was about a week in, I changed, and what I ended up writing was a story based on Assassin's Creed Syndicate, because that's what Ed and I had played pretty much for months leading up to that. So I was very familiar with the characters, the world, the vibe, the adversaries, everything around Assassin's Creed Syndicate. So I wrote a complete book story around that particular world and those characters instead. And so this year, this week, so these next 2 weeks, I'm planning out that sequel again. Drasan is what it's called, and reviewing my notes, looking through the characters, refamiliarizing myself with their personalities, and going back through that novel structure that I had written to see why I struggled, and whether it was just a time in my life thing, or whether I just wasn't gelling with what I'd actually decided to run with. So I have so that's one of the other things I'm doing while I'm on vacation, is I've got that mind space, that ability to actually start thinking through those things. That's what I've been. So that's one of the things, is playing these games and reading these books and looking at all these, and the TV shows that I'm watching. I'm all doing all of those with the view of getting inspiration, getting motivation, so that I can have a good sort of kickstart into November. Now, when November hits, that's actually when I start my new job too. So it's going to be a interesting time to start a new job and write another novel, 50,000 words, which is about 1,667 words per day for 30 days. Let me pause there a second. Now I've switched gears. I've finished that first part of Squattober, day 13, all the back squats and the 2 supersets, and now I'm switching over to Sasquatch's workout of the day, which was a number of snatches. This was just getting some volume in, making sure I had good technique, good momentum. So the weights were, I think they were from 65 or 70% to 80%, I think. Let me see while I'm doing this. So yeah, the weights were, I'm just going to tell you. It was here, snatches. Show me the workout, please. Okay. Yeah, started at 70% of your 1 rep maximum and going up to 85%. I don't have a fantastically heavy snatch, and so you'll see the weights there range from 105 pounds up to 125, because my max is about 145, 150. But it was good to do these, and these were done on every 2 minutes. It was the next set. So it wasn't like Squattober where you had, a set amount of rest in between each set. It was, you have 2 minutes, beginning of every 2 minute block was the next set of weights. And so you can see I've written down on the whiteboard the times of each round as well, to remind myself of when I'm supposed to go up in weights and and how many sets I'm doing and all that kind of stuff, just to make it easier on me mentally, given I'd been already at this point working out for basically an hour, and I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. And so I'm keeping an eye on the wall clock, I'm keeping an eye on the whiteboard, adding the weights on when I need to. Yeah, so while I'm waiting for that next round, nano is something that I push myself to do. There's been a couple of years where I've been not really feeling it at the beginning and then getting into it as the month goes on. And it's a good exercise to force my brain to just think and create without a lot of constraints. And I've written all sorts of weird stories over the years for that. I've had the werewolf stories have been really good. I've loved that series. I've loved that world that I've created. And so I'm really looking forward to trying to do that second book again this year. I've written, teenagers being experimented on by secret government agencies. I've done a space, I wouldn't call it spoof, but it's kind of like not fully serious. It's a spacefaring story that I'd like to go back and rewrite, because I actually really wrote that one in a hurry because it just was all in my brain and I needed to get it out, and so it's very messy that first year. Hit the 50,000 words, no problem, but I think it was like 60,000 or something. But I would love to go back and redo that one and flesh out that world. The world had multiple planets, multiple peoples and cultures. There was big, huge, intergalactic governments having, disagreements. There was pirates and smugglers. It was full on like a big, huge space opera type thing, but it wasn't done fully seriously either. It was intentionally had some tongue-in-cheek moments because I was trying to force myself to do a lighter feel and more humor, and just saying, hey, like that, it doesn't have to be serious. Let's just do something sort of fun. And so that's kind of what I did with that, and it was actually a lot of fun. And I want to go back and do that one again. But there was one year where I just did a whole bunch of short stories and forced myself that every day I was writing a new story. And would write that until it was done, and I managed to have those done. So I really love Nano for pushing me to do that. And then, as I mentioned, the fan fiction last year of Assassin's Creed Syndicate was also great. So, it's doing all of those things that really push you and help you be creative and take risks and things. I always love all my little slogan cards. I think the one I've got currently says "Do it with passion or not at all." That was particularly timely right now with my decision to leave. My decision to leave Microsoft was a lot to do with passion and what I wanted to do, which I'll talk about later as part of sort of my reveal about what I'm doing in my next job. But NaNoWriMo is also one of those things that helps me push and do things with passion, or take risks, do things that scare you. Do one thing that scares you every day is another thing. I sort of, I don't do it every day, but I think that is a great mantra to live by, to just constantly question and push and do different things, and take risks to see, what works and what doesn't, and what, is there something out there that's going to have you even more excited about life, about yourself. So, there's those things that, like NaNoWriMo, that I force myself to do, but I love doing. So it's one of those sort of 1-2, like flip of the coin type, two different sides of the coin. So, and Ed, I love that Ed supports me in that and pushes me to help me make that happen as well. So, looking forward to that. It starts in 2 weeks, so I'm glad that I've got this time to be able to set that up and get it going. So still doing these snatches as part of the Sasquatch workout. So you can see I've got to do 3 sets of 4 reps at 105, then 2 sets of 4 at 110. That's what I'm loading on right now. I'm adding on just a 2.5 pound plate on either side. So I do 2 sets of those, and then I'm going to be doing 1 set of 2 reps at 120, and then finally 4 rounds of just 1 single rep at 125 pounds, and then that'll be done. That'll take me through to about the 88-minute mark of the workout. So we've got a little time left, sorry. Yeah, it's another 10-15 minutes of this one. But I like doing these kinds of workouts because it helps you get the volume in, and helps you practice your form, so that when you start pushing yourself and start trying to build some strength up, you've got that sort of subconscious mental model of how to do workouts like that. So what else can I tell you about right now while I'm waiting for the next round? So I talked about books and painting and office rearranging. Let me talk about the garage gym a bit more. New additions. Let's see. New additions is that plate tree in the background you can see there against the window. We got that just in the last month, and that allowed me to move all of our plates to that tree and off a bookshelf. And so I was able to dismantle that shelving and put it away, and we'll probably just get rid of that or donate it. And then in the back corner where you can see the rowing machine and box and plywood there, there used to be another shelf that was full of things like camping equipment and paint and other bits and pieces that we haven't touched since we moved in, basically a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So we basically donated most of it. Paint we've got to get rid of. It's sitting in the other part of the garage ready to go to waste. And we also donated our bikes that we hadn't ridden for a couple of years as well. And then, as I said, I was able to dismantle one of the shelves, and the other shelf is off in the other part of the garage right now, but it'll go as well. And that allowed me to clear this entire wall off, move the box in the back and the rowing machine against the wall there. It gave breathing space to the rack, which until now was actually a bit of a struggle to get the weights on the barbell, on my barbell in particular. Ed's is a little shorter, but mine, it meant you were kind of like trying to, do a perpendicular angle to try and get the weight on the plate, the weight on the bar, and it was a little awkward on both sides. And so having both of those shelving units taken away gave us some space there to be able to load the bar more easily and get access to that. I was able to also move the dumbbells. They're out of shot right now. You can see the ROMWOD mat roll in the foreground there on the right hand side. Next to those is the kettlebells and dumbbells now. There's now a new whiteboard there above the ROMWOD mat that gives us more space there. I also mounted the clock, the workout clock, so it's more visible. It was just sitting on the window ledge, and depending on where you were in the gym area, sometimes it wasn't visible. And then when I put the plate tree there, it was even less visible. So I mounted it up on the wall, and now it's completely visible from everywhere that you could be working out. So that's really good. Because I moved things around, then off camera you can't see, but the assault bike's there, the bench is there, and these mats go a little further to the left as well. So just a lot more space, a lot more breathing space to be able to work out in, and so it feels really good, really roomy, and I'm really happy with the layout there. So we're in the tail end of this, I guess. What we're going to do in a minute, we're going to do the 2 reps at 120, and then we'll get into the single snatches after that. So I'm just getting it all set up. One other thing I should do while I'm waiting is, so I got new headphones. So these are my shiny new Bose headphones. Got them all designed. The colors I chose, some reds and oranges and yellows. I love that sort of color combo. I've always loved my Bose headphones, and then I moved to Surface headphones over the last year or so, and I've been enjoying them, but I've been having some weird feedback in them, and it doesn't seem to it seemed to be getting worse. But I love the noise cancelling on them. I love the feel and the fit to them, but it didn't seem to matter what I did. I was always getting that bit of feedback. It was becoming more and more painful, actually, high-pitched sort of electronic feedback in it. So I took the opportunity to get some new Bose, and these are super comfortable. They fit really nicely. The cushioning on the earpieces is really nice, as well as the headpiece. I really love the quality feel of these. Really love them. The noise cancelling is probably not quite as good as Surface as far as I'm concerned. And it does have multiple levels of that noise cancelling, but it's not, to me, it's not as good. It doesn't have external amplification, so when you're on a flight on the Surface headphones, you can not only turn noise cancelling off, but you can have one thing that accentuates external noise. So someone like a flight attendant you could talk to and actually hear very easily while wearing Surface headphones, more easily than if you weren't wearing them. Obviously, these don't have that. They just have off or 2 levels of noise cancelling. But even at the highest level, I would not say these are as good as Surface. But the 2 things that kind of frustrated me about these, other than, as I said, I love the feel. I love the sound quality out of them. I have some other ones. I got some cheapy M-Power ones, which sound different when they're plugged in directly on a wire versus Bluetooth. These don't have that problem. These sound great Bluetooth. They sound great wired. These sound great. Bose does very good audio. But my 2 issues I have with these are, one, it's old school USB, and yeah, okay, these headphones, the QC35 Comfort 2, have been out for a while, but I would have thought that they would either have a newer version of these with USB-C, or they would have upgraded this particular version so that any new units they sold had a USB-C. So that's one frustrating point, because at this point we have very few devices that are not USB-C. So our cables that we have plugged in to charge things on our computer, at our desks, at our bedsides, and the couch, all of those things in the cars are all USB-C. And so having an old school USB connector is a little frustrating, because it means I have to carry an extra cable just for this. And the cable they provided in the case, love the case also, by the way, but the cable they provided in the case was woefully short. It's like a foot long, so I have to find another cable to put in there. The other thing that frustrates me is that when the microphone is active, so basically if you're on a call, it turns noise cancelling down and accentuates sound around you. So kind of like what Surface does with its, amplify external sounds. But it does it when you're on a call, and they say it's so that you can hear hear yourself talking. You can hear, like things, how you sound typing, all that kind of stuff. Basically, they make it sound as if it's so that it's a life, a lifestyle option for you to know that you're doing that, what you're sounding like. I find it really, really off-putting, to be honest. I don't like it at all. I would rather not hear myself talking in a sort of weird way, and certainly I don't want to hear myself tapping or anything, because the thing is, it's whenever the microphone is active, not necessarily when it's being used. So what I mean by that is, if I am on a call on my computer, it turns that accentuation thing on, even if I am on mute. So the microphone is muted, and so I can happily be tapping away on my keyboard, or talking, or doing whatever, drinking, opening a can, of drink. All of those noises are accentuated and magnified when I'm on a call, even if I'm on mute, and that's just frustrating me. Like, I don't know why I would want those sounds. They say it's on purpose. You can't turn it off. That's the only option you have. That is frustrating. That is like number one frustration I have with these headphones. So it's not to the point where I'm like, I'm not going to use them, because I actually love how they sound and how they feel when I'm not on a call. But they certainly are having to make me change the way I use headphones, or the way I'm on a call when I have headphones on. That's really frustrating. So I'm getting close to the second last snatch lift. So we're getting close towards the end of this one. I've got this one, then one more. It's at 125 pounds. It's about 80% of my max. I'm not setting my back very well in these. I wasn't happy with that. I could feel it not being set. But I was feeling fatigued, and I should have probably taken more of a break before I started the snatches. But I was trying to keep the momentum going. So I just have to keep an eye on my form when I'm fatigued, and just make sure I'm thinking through it all, and setting and resetting when I need to, which is what I think I should have done with that. What else am I doing right now? So I'm doing a few other things. I know that's a lot, but I've got a few more things to talk about. First is, we've got a couple more trips planned. One of them being a weird thing, in that we both love train trips. And when Ed and I first met, I lived in New York and she lived in DC, or DC area. And we would catch the train, 3-hour train, or however long it was, back and forth between those two cities on a fairly regular basis, to spend time with each other on the weekends and whatever. So, and even like for work things. And it was just a really enjoyable experience. We loved it. Sometimes we had the train together, but most of the time it was just individually. But one thing we've missed is that, since we've been over in Seattle, I don't think we've done a train trip, and we've even thought about, doing train trips in Europe and stuff like that. Here's my final snatch. Yeah, I can see I was trying to get my back more set, but I still wasn't down into that position in the right way. So it's not. I wasn't happy with that. Putting it back in the rack, because the next thing is going to be the final final exercise, which is Squatober day 14. I just decided I had the accessory work for Squatober 14 as well, but I was looking at this time and thinking 88 minutes at this point. I'm still going to have another 20 minutes or so doing all these back squats. So I decided to not do the other accessory work and just do the back squats at this point. which was probably a good decision. But you'll see I'm loading this up to do the first set of back squats. It's 3 reps at 210, then 2 at 265, then 3 down to 245, 2 back up to 300, 2 down to 280, and then 1 final at 320 as a sort of roller coaster of weights and reps, which is something they do once or twice during Squatober every year. So I was expecting it, and it was a lot of fun, as you'll see. Wasn't happy with my depth towards the end of these as they got heavier and I was more and more fatigued. But I was actually really concerned that I wasn't even sure if I'd be able to do 320 pounds at all, given how 300 felt last week. And so I was just being a little careful on that. You'll see I also wear my weight belt in these workouts as well, in these lifts, just to make sure I'm protecting my back there. But, one of the things about train trips is that, it's slower paced. Again, it's kind of like that, what I was talking about earlier with the New York travel, allows us to just relax and just sort of time out a bit. And so we decided to catch a plane to Sacramento, and then catch a train from Sacramento back to Seattle. That's all we're doing. So I think we catch the plane down on Friday, we leave Friday night, we get back Saturday night. It's just a stupid little 36-hour thing, but it allows us to have some, the train experience of the train all the way up the coast from Sacramento to Seattle. The first part is obviously going to be at night. I think the train leaves at like 11 p.m. or something. And then from there, it'll go from, it'll be daytime, and we'll be able to have most of the day. I think, as I said, I think we get in at about 8 p.m. from memory. So we'll have basically 12 hours of daylight on the train, watching the countryside go by. So I'm really looking forward to that. So is Ed. And so we're going to do that. We're also, next weekend, I know it might sound silly, but next weekend's going to be a little busy because we're going to have the CrossFit Games finals events are on. So we're going to watch those, which doesn't sound, as I said, doesn't sound a lot, but it's a lot of fun and we enjoy it. And we're also flying out to Tennessee to see Mizuki and Travis, 2 people that we consider really good friends that used to be at our gym here in Seattle, who just moved out earlier this year and set up in a new place out there, and they invited us out, and we had some time because I'm between jobs and Ed's got time off sort of available. So we're going to fly out there and spend a long weekend with them and just catch up, and again probably just do some good old sleeping and eating and working out and have some fun there with those guys. So I'm looking forward to both of those trips coming up. Besides those things, besides playing video games and reading books and painting miniatures, besides rearranging the gym and the office and getting things organized, our solarium's windows have been leaking, so we've finally got someone out to quote on those and getting those repaired. The gravel yard needs a new surface, so we've actually got that happening next week. The hot tubs motor had broken, so we actually had the hot tub guys come out today to fix. There's just little things that aren't like, hey, take the trash out, that we needed to get done, that I'm finally having the sort of a bit of extra headspace to be able to do in between jobs. So I've really enjoyed that opportunity to do some of those things. Cooking as well. One of the things that I think we made a really good decision on was subscribing to Marley's Spoon, and we get 3 meals a week to prepare, and it's just giving us that extra motivation to cook. it's giving us, I don't know if it's giving us new techniques, but it's certainly giving us the opportunity to practice some of those techniques and do things, and just cook fresh food, right? And so we cook other fresh food as well, but it's nice to be able to have those meals come and say, okay, they've been planned, we know what they are, and when we select the meals, I try to get the macros, in a more reasonable spot, so we can sort of factor those in from a nutrition perspective as well. So we're doing that, and other things like that have just having the time off lets me think about things even more with that, and what do we want to do next with food and things like that. So I said things like that. I don't know how many times just then. We're getting towards the end of the workout video. Maybe I'll just change to... Yeah, let me change to this one. So, it was super interesting looking at this. This is Fitbit. This is the same. This is Fitbit, the app. This is the same screen you can see from my phone. And they've done a really interesting thing because the upper half, the heart rate zones, is the old school style. And you can see there, they've got 0 minutes peak, 45 minutes cardio, 56 minutes fat burn, and 10 minutes below zones. What's that? 90, 100, 111 minutes. That's about right in terms of my workout. And then if you look at the new thing, it's called Active Zone. Now it's 146 minutes for the same workout. And so I didn't do 2 hours, 26 minutes. So I'm not sure why this looks different. I suspect they've detected either some time before I started the workout or time after the workout, because I guess, let me go back. Yeah, because that's 90, 100, 111. So it's an extra 30 minutes or so. And all I can think of is that it's detected time either before or after or both. Like as I was setting up the gym for the workout, getting it all ready, opening garage doors and, putting the weights in their place, writing on the whiteboard, it's detected that bit of movement. And then post-workout, putting all the weights away, cleaning up, taking shoes off, getting inside, like all that. Maybe it just added all those things together to put those things together, but to come up with a different time. But this stuff, it's never super accurate, and certainly that's why I'm not even showing the screen which shows that it said I burned 1,000 calories, because I don't think I did burn 1,000 calories in that time. I'm certainly not going to assume that I did, but to me it's a good indication, particularly with heart rate. Again, it's not super accurate, but it's good enough for me to just keep an eye on it for, with my blood pressure and things, that I know that I'm working or I'm not working hard. And, it's a good little review to see how my heart rate tracked throughout the workout. You can see here it's really up and down and fairly consistent right throughout. Some workouts it really ramps up and dies off. This one I thought was good, that I was able to sort of go up and down with peak with those lifts, and then a 3-minute break and a lift and 3-minute break. It was good to see how that worked out with that. So, what have we got? We only got a few lifts yet. I can't quite see how many plates I've got on there right now. I'm assuming it's 300. Yeah, we'll know when it's the 320 because the other 10s go on. What else? So besides all those things, the other thing Ed and I've been doing is playing Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. And I've talked about Gloomhaven before. you can see there I'm not going as low in the back squat as I would like. Need to work on that. We've talked about Gloomhaven, the main Gloomhaven, which is this huge box and it takes forever. We play it with Schleyer and Fitz, and it's great. Been missing playing that with them. They've been very quarantined, given that she's a teacher and he also interacts with a lot of people. So we've been very conscious of that and minimizing contact. So we've been missing those opportunities to play with them on that game. But I discovered Jaws of the Lion, which is a new game in the series, brand new characters. In fact, I've got the characters up here ready to paint. New scenarios, new style, and a set of the first 5 scenarios are designed to be tutorial scenarios that teach you how to play the game. And now that we've actually played through those, and I think we're up to like scenario 7 or 8 now, it's been fantastic because it actually has helped us understand how to play the game way better. And when we play the original Gloomhaven again with Schleyer and Fitz, when we can, it'll be fantastic to be able to bring those rules back over and be able to play it more with them. It's designed as it's a adventuring fantasy game where you have your characters going through a storyline of trying to beat a whole bunch of monsters. But each scenario is kind of a puzzle, and you have to figure out what combination of abilities to use and items to use and when to move and when not to move and all kind of stuff to set yourself up for success for the scenario. And when we first played Gloomhaven with Schleyer and Fitz, we had a lot of problems with that, and we ended up making a lot of house rules because it was very frustrating. And it may still be frustrating if we play that original game like that, but we found with Jaws of the Lion, we've actually been really close to the rules, and we've had to replay a couple of scenarios. We've only had to replay 2 or 3 scenarios once more each. So we've gone in with a particular assumption, used particular abilities, and failed miserably, like failed really quickly, and both died and being really frustrated. Oh my goodness, our characters are at the right level, we've got the right abilities, what the hell, why are we not being successful? And then we'll be like, but give ourselves some time to cool down and think about it and go, well, if we did it this way instead, maybe that will work. And so we'll play it again, and we'll try a different tactic or a different order of abilities, or move in a different way, and successful every subsequent attempt we've tried. So I've been really happy with that. Here I am loading up for the last lift. It's 320 pounds, which is 90% of my theoretical 1 rep max, which is 352. I don't know if I could do 352 right now today. That was done about a year ago, but I'm certainly, I'm going to do 90% of that right now. So Jaws of the Lion is fantastic. Highly recommend it as a game to play as introduction to Gloomhaven, and it's got all the same sort of quality. The scenarios are good. The story is kind of cheesy, classic fantasy style. But Jaws of the Lion is done all within the boundaries of the city of Gloomhaven. The first scenario is you coming back into Gloomhaven, and then you basically are exploring the city, trying to solve a big problem that's hitting the town. And the other thing that makes it easier to play is the scenario book. In the original Gloomhaven, it shows you the map layout, and then you have to get the different room tiles and put them together, and then assemble everything onto the room tiles. Whereas in this one, the scenario book, the room tiles are basically printed on the pages of the scenarios, and so you can basically just open up, here's scenario 7, there's the map. And so setup is like super, super easy. You have the map, you put down the monsters that you need, you get out the different monster cards and everything, and you're ready to go. And so that's been really enjoyable for us both to play that. And so looking forward to continuing that. I think we might play again this weekend. It's currently dominating the dining table, which means no standing desk for me right now. Um, but we're just really enjoying it a lot. Um, so I think I'm at the point. You'll see I reset the clock on the timer as well, because when that clock hits 99, it stops. So I intentionally got to sort of the 98 and reset it to zero so that I could keep track on my timing, because particularly right now when I'm incredibly fatigued, I've been working for 90 minutes plus, and I'm doing super heavy weights. I really wanted to force myself to have those 2.5 to 3 minute rests in between each lift. And you can see there, I'm like, I want to get it done, but at the same time, I know I need to force myself to give myself that time. So resetting the clock allowed me to make sure I was tracking that time properly. And so here I am for the final lift, getting myself set. Feels heavy, but didn't get the depth I wanted there. It still was down there. It was parallel. It just wasn't below parallel, and it felt good coming up. So I probably was a little psychologically like I psyched myself out on that descent there. I probably could have gone lower and brought it back up, given the way I felt coming back up. So I got it done. Got the 320. Here I am, just doing a final check to say, look, this is all the things I did. The back squats, then the 2 sets of supersets, as I said, moved things around, the snatches every 2 minutes, and then finally the back squats to do that sort of seesaw roller coaster, and then there's the plates there for the workout. So that was a 90 odd minute workout, and it got a lot of volume in, a lot of burned a lot of energy. I don't know if I burned 1,000 calories like Fitbit says I did, but hey, that's what I did. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I know this is a long check-in, but I thought it'd be fun to just do that while the workout was going on, and I could talk about a whole bunch of different things, keep me going. And then finally, I wanted to just sort of say, like I've left Microsoft and I'm starting my new job in November 2nd is when I start my new job. I'm joining Unity, and I'm going to be looking after marketing for their developer tools there. They're all great bunch of people. I've worked with a number of them over the years from Microsoft's perspective, and I'm excited about joining that team and looking forward to having a lot of fun with game developers, dedicated game development, which is my passion. That's what I talked about a few times now. I'm really passionate about game development, and so I'm really excited about joining that team and helping game developers actually make even better games. And I couldn't be more excited about joining that team. But one of the cool things about it is not only am I joining Unity, not only am I actually doing game development stuff, which I haven't been doing for the last 6 months, but we're also going to be relocating to Copenhagen, Denmark next year at some point once this whole COVID thing dies down, and we can actually do it. We're actually going to be moving from Seattle to Denmark, and looking forward to that a lot. It's one of those things where do something that scares you, and I know I'm going to be scared at times, living in a foreign country, in a country that doesn't natively speak English. They all speak English very well, but Danish is the language. It's going to be a great experience for Ed too. She's never lived outside the US, so this is her opportunity to live somewhere in a different part of the world and experience that. And being in Europe and being able to travel to all those other countries on weekends and vacations and stuff, couldn't be more excited about that. But obviously, it's a nervous thing, and there's things that we don't know until it happens, and then we'll deal with it. But the thing is, we will deal with it, and I'm just really, really super excited about that. And so that's kind of my final news there, the final part of my check-in. If you made it this far, congratulations. 90 minutes is a long time. to stick with someone just talking at the screen. But I hope that you had some fun there, and maybe I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao. Bye.